But again, it's an honor and a privilege to be standing here this morning, to be sharing, and I am blown away by this weekend. I've been a part of sports ministry since 2014, and I've been to conferences, but nothing like this. So, again, I'm going to share with you. But before I share, I'm probably going to lose my train of thought while I'm sharing. And that's because of my past, and because I used, and I'm a recovering drug addict. I'm clean for 20 years. The 12th of January 2026, I'll be clean for 20 years. And it's something that I'm not proud of, but it happened. And I'm just going to ask if you can put up the slide, and I just want you to leave it on the first slide, please. Yeah. So basically, I am a twin. I'm the youngest of 6 children. My dad was a Christian. He then got married, turned Muslim. He had 3 children, and then he separated his wife at the time, and then met my mom, and got married, and had 6 kids, and then turned Christian again. But always when I chat to my mom, I'm like, listen, you guys, when you guys got together, Dad was still seeing his wife, no? And then she laughs, and I'm like, oh, okay, explains it. But anyway, I'm the youngest, and my dad had a stroke when I was 9 years old. And I remember when he had a stroke, the nurses came to us, to my twin brother and I, and said, listen, that your dad that you remember is not going to be the same dad. So you're going to see mommy probably changing daddy's nappy because your dad's not going to be able to walk again. So he was paralyzed on his left side, completely paralyzed. And my dad passed away when I was 16. But as I reflect my adulthood now, and as I continue trying to figure out my identity, I realized back then that when I was 9 years old, my mom became my dad and my mom. And basically went through our childhood. I was a rebel. I don't know how to explain this better to you. I was very naughty. My mom used to make statements that you pull the skin off my face. That's basically what my mom used to tell me. And then anyway, so I started drinking at the age of 16. I was an excessive drinker. I started partying when I was 16 years old, and my twin brother was the total opposite. But anyway, long story short, I basically finished matric. I don't know, I really don't know. I was sharing with somebody the other day. I used to do accounting and mathematics. I was higher grade accounting, but mathematics I was dumb. I think in grade 8 or 9, there's the method that you need to understand, the equation. And if you don't understand the equation, you're never going to understand. That's my understanding. I missed that completely. I don't know where I was. I really don't know where I was. And my mom tried, and she sent me to tutor and everything. But I loved playing sports. I was athletic at school. I played provincial level soccer, provincial level cricket, played indoor provincial level, played South Africa indoor cricket. But for some reason, I just loved soccer, and I always went back to soccer. But anyway, my mom would drop me by the tutor, and my brother was like, okay, what have you got up your sleeve today? I would go on with the tutor so much that he'd throw me out, and then I go to soccer. And I never learned anything. In my final exams, matric, I got a G for maths. My mom said, you're going to go rewrite. I said, okay, and I got the H. Because you go with no year mark, It was a funny story. They still make jokes, and we still laugh about it. But anyway, matriculated. I passed matric. I don't know how, but I passed matric, and then I partied. From when I got my results, when I passed, I jumped on the principal's table. I was like, you can't tell me anymore I passed. But anyway, then my twin brother, he went to go study to be a chef. And but before my dad passed, my sisters made a promise that the one sister will look after my brother and the other sister will look after me. So my sister comes to me, I'm extremely drunk one day, and she says, listen, what are you going to do with your life? Because your brother's going to go study, what are you going to do? I was like, I'm going to go to the UK, because at the time, everybody was going to the UK for 2 years to go work. And then she's like, okay, let's sort it out. Anyway, I don't know if you guys remember the phone book, the thick phone book. I was going through the phone book for some reason, I don't know why, and I came across this Exercise Teachers Academy, and I said, okay, I want to study sports management. And I said, yeah, I want to study sports management. She's like, okay. The next day, we signed up. They said, listen, you're late for registrations, but it's fine, we'll sign you up to do sports management. And anyway, in my second year of studies, and I had a very good friend by the name of Mark Facklein. He doesn't mind me sharing his name. Mark Facklein, very good soccer player, extremely good soccer player. And at the time, I was playing semi-professional football, and we started playing together. We started partying together, started sleeping over at each other's houses and things like that. But I never knew that this guy was on drugs. Never knew it at all. And then he would go in the top professional ranks, Kaiser Chiefs, Sundowns, all of those professional teams. They would fly him down. He just needs to sign a deal. So he goes for his medical, comes back, he's like, nah, Angelo, the deal fell through. Like, okay. At Amazulu, same thing. Flew up, trialed, deal was going to happen, deal fell through. I was like, what's going on here? But anyway, found out that he was failing his medicals. So then the top clubs wasn't signing him. And one night, we went to a party. I was extremely drunk. I was laying in a sewer, and his eldest brother came to me. He's like, Angelo, take a puff of this, man. You'll be okay. You'll really be okay. I was like, nah, I'm fine. And anyway, I then took a puff, and that was my first puff of crystal meth. In other words, tick. And that was in my second year of studies. And I became a drug addict for 3 years. I was hook, line, and sinker. And so you'll see in that picture over there. So that is in a community on the Cape Flats called Pelican Park. I grew up in Ottery in Cape Town. You get the nice part of Ottery, and then you don't get the nice part of Ottery. So I lived in a not nice part of Ottery, but in a residential area, but very close to the 28 gangs, right? And then when I got married, I bought a house in this community. And the reason why I'm showing this photo, because I think this photo will give you more of a clear picture of who I am and where I feel God has called me to. So behind that picture, you'll see that there's a road. By the stop signs, that road separates the houses. So the houses there that you'll see on the top, that's like, it's duplex houses. That is RTP houses. So that's low-costing houses. That road separates low-costing houses to the buying houses. So on my right is a close, and I stay in the close, and we bought that house. And so because that picture is up, that is my daughter in the middle. Her name is Leah. She's 9 years old, turning 21. And that's my beautiful wife, Nicole. And that's the community that we live in. So opposite on that road over there, that is called the 26 gangs. And so that gangsters that live on that side is called the 6 Bopper in Pelican Park. But now I really want to share the story with you. So, but before I continue sharing, I just want to say, please understand, I don't have a theological background. But I have done a few short courses that I think has equipped me to understand the basis of theology. It actually reminds me how Jesus chose Peter to write some books in the Bible. I just imagine Jesus choosing a fisherman with long hair and dirty nails. But anyway, Philippians 4, chapter 4 to 9, it reads, rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. I believe that Paul is telling us that we must continue to imitate the life of Christ by actually being gentle, because the Lord is near. That is in verse 5, but I just added some things to that. And then I believe this scripture, these 2 verses, was the beginning of my faith and prayer journey. And in verse 6, we'll go on to say, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. That's verse 7. And then I believe these two verses, verse 8 and 9, I think it is, will always be the continuation of my faith and prayer journey. Finally, brothers and sisters, this is in verse 8. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. And something that really stands out for me is, do not be anxious about anything. Above everything, this statement stands out for me massively. So instead of me telling you a story or outlining a scenario about some of my anxieties in my daily life, let's rather think about what is the things that makes us anxious. Then Philippians 4:6-7, I quote from the NIV commentary. Paul warns believers against yielding to disturbing and perplexing worries and anxieties over our needs and difficulties this life continually presents. He issues the great antidote to worry, prayer permeated with petitions and thanksgiving. I then Googled, what does yield mean in the Bible? And it says, just as a yield sign indicates you should let someone else go ahead of you, yielding to God means we surrender our lives to follow Him and let Him lead. But I'm actually going to stop there, and hopefully my story will do justice to the scripture. And so I want you to journey with me through my story with your imagination, emphasizing prayer that may be you kneeling, sitting, meditating, sleeping, singing, teaching, coaching, driving, playing sports, and doing life through community. And so, like I said, I was on drugs for 3 years. Point that my mom threw me out of the house. I was living on the streets, and I was doing drugs with my best friend. His name is Christopher, and a guy by the name of Lorenzo. And so one night we found ourselves in a house in Cape Town, in a community called Woodstock. And in Woodstock, we were in a house of the leader of the Fancy Boys at the time. It was a gang, and we were in the house and we were doing our thing. And a lady came up to me, and she said, "Hey, why do you do what you do?" As I'm smoking the pipe and things like that. And obviously, I know her background, and so for privacy reasons, I'm not going to share who the lady is, because she still does what she does. And I said, "Why do you do what you do?" And she's like, "I do what I do to support my family. I do what I do because it's a business. I do what I do because it's my work." I said, "So you destroy people's lives. You destroy people's families. That's what you do. So that is your work." And she couldn't respond to me. I looked at my friend Chrissy and I told him, "Listen, brother, I'm done after this. Like, I can't do this anymore. My bro, where are we going to go tonight? I don't even have a place to sleep. The clothes that I have on my body is all that I have." And he's like, he looked at me and was like, "Okay, what?" I said, "We're going to ask that people for 2 grams of tick and we're going to smoke it out and it's going to be our last and we're done. I don't know if you're with me." And he's like, "Angelo, I'm with you." And today, I'm 20 years clean on the 12th of January, and Chrissy is the same. He has his own business today. Unfortunately, Lorenzo said, "Nah, guys, I'm not with you. I'm not going to stop." And shortly after that, Lorenzo had a stroke, but it didn't stop him. He still used. And for a long time, myself and Chrissy, we tried to reach out to him, and he was like, "Angelo, I'm not going to stop. You don't want to be a part of this monster." But he was also dealing through his own things. And so 2 years ago, we buried him, and he passed away, unfortunately, at the age of 34. So my life growing up, starting going on drugs, graduating, meeting my wife, working at Virgin Active, sharing my testimony. I just needed to get my train of thought. So I'll never forget in 2005, yeah, it was my second year of studies. I might be wrong. But anyway, we were going to a place for a day out, and I was high. I was completely high. And we were driving in this taxi to the place that we were going to. It's called Vision. And next to me was my wife's best friend sitting next to me, but I knew her before my wife. And we're driving, and in front of the taxi, there's this guy that's sitting next to this girl, and he's pointing in her face. Now, as I told you, I was very naughty. So Tanya says to me, Angelo, I know what you're going to do. Please do not do it. It's like, what are you going to do? I'm just going to tell that guy when the taxi stops that he must stop pointing in her face. That's all. And so eventually the van stopped, and I said, my brother, is this your partner? He's like, yes, my girlfriend. I'm like, now why are you pointing in her face? Anyway, we had an argument, but it subsided, and we went on with our day. And during the day, now, you know, I'm high. Now, remember, when you're high, you live in a life of denial. You believe that you are flying on like wings of eagle, right? And the lady comes to me. She's like, listen, don't you want to go swim with me? I'm like, oh, you mad? Your boyfriend is not a normal guy, so I'm not going to go swim with you. But anyway, who knows this chat Mix It? Yeah? It's going to bring back memories, eh? Yeah. So anyway, 6 months later, I get an invite on Mix It from this lady, Nicole. So for 6 months, she saw my twin brother in the train. They were traveling to varsity. Saw my brother in the train, and she asked my brother for my number because she knew that wasn't me. And then she invited me on Mix It. And then in Cape Town, I don't know if you said here, but she chased me. I never chased her. And on the 25th of April 2006, we started dating. And I was only 6 months clean at the time. And I said to her, Nicole, you don't want to be with me. I'm a broken man, young boy. And she was like, listen, I know your past. If you relapse, just let me know. And we can then say, okay, we part ways or whatever. Let's just do that. I was like, okay. So this year, we will be married 12 years. And we dated for about 7 years before we got married. And then my life changed. So we got married, and I was working at Virgin Active. I was earning a salary of 5,000 Rand. She was working at Kauai. She was earning a salary of 4,000 Rand. And before that, before the 30th of April, I applied for 5 managerial positions because I thought I can climb the managerial chain and things like that. And I never got any position. I was always told that I'm not mature enough, that I'm not experienced enough, and all of those type of things. But anyway, what happened was that I had a canary yellow Ford Escort, a 1976 Ford Escort. Some things happened before that, and my brother-in-law gave me his car and said, listen, you need a car. And me and my wife got engaged and all of that. And I was driving, and I was starting a 4:30 shift. So my shift started at 4:30, and I'm driving on the side on the M5. It's a main road it's a highway that we used to go to where we need to go into work. And at around about 4:10 in the morning, I decided to stop on the highway to pray for 5 minutes. I've never prayed in my life. I wasn't prompted to pray. And I was praying on the side of the road for 5 minutes. And as I went back onto my journey, and I was driving in front of a car that was going over a green robot, and a truck jumped a red robot and knocked the car. And I was first on the scene, qualified first aider, pulled the lady out of the car. Lady loses consciousness. I start CPR. She regains consciousness. And this lady says that I'm 26. This is all that she said to me. I'm 26 years old, but there's other ladies that will carry on the legacy. I obviously don't know what that meant at the time, because I don't know who the lady was. And I was bawling my eyes out. I didn't know what was happening around me because she unfortunately passed away. But I do know one thing that I heard simple words said to me that I sacrificed someone else's life for the life of yours because I need you to be a disciple of mine. That's what I clearly heard. I'm missing a very big part of the story, but it's fine. But just remember this guy by the name of Keegan Davids, Pastor Keegan Davids. And I believe that I gave my heart to Jesus that morning, but I didn't realize it at the time. And that I went to work, told him the story, didn't believe me, got my written final warning because you can't be late for the opening shift. Anyway, the afternoon went to Keegan, and I shared the story with him, what happened in the morning. And I gave my heart to Jesus that afternoon in his office, but I believe I gave my heart to Jesus in the morning already. And like I said, when that happened, straight after that, my twin brother came to me and was like, Angelo, listen, our church is having this Alpha course. Do you want to go on it? I was like, yes. Me and my wife went on to this Alpha course. And when we went, like I said, we were like, that happened the 30th of April, I gave my heart to Jesus. The 5th of May, I got the promotion at work and got my first managerial position. On the 25th of August, my wife gave her heart to Jesus. And in that time, we earned a combined salary of 9,000 Rand, like I said. And this is not about the money, right? We were earning a combined salary of 30,000 Rand. Between April the 30th, the 25th of August, and the 1st of October of 2014, we moved into our house. It's a cheap house, but it's ours. And we then climbed the managerial. I climbed the managerial ladder. I became a club general manager. I think I was one of the youngest club general managers for Virgin Active. But then one day, my wife was unhappy. She was like, listen, on a Saturday morning when you go to work, I'm crying. Whole weekend I'm crying. I'm emotional. We had a 6-month-old baby. She's like, you're missing your daughter's first footsteps. You missed your daughter's first words. Like, I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm working. Isn't this what people do? You have a career. And then she showed me. She pointed to my phone. She said, you have 20 WhatsApp groups. Your director phones you every single morning. At 5 o'clock, you had a bad sales day. How are you going to make up? You know? And then the turning point for me was when she said, come to the car. She opened the boot and she said, you ride with your work clothes in your car. Like, you're never at home. You're always working. And I was like, okay, so what do you want me to do? I don't know what to do. She's like, you have an interview. This is the Sunday. The third, she said, you have an interview the Thursday. I was like, where? It's a place called Zip Zap Circus. And I laughed at it and I said, you want me to go work in the circus? What must I go do in the circus? She's like, it's a youth program coordinator. You are passionate about sports. You love young people. Oh, I need to be careful how I say that, eh? Passionate about young people. And I went for the interview. I was like, okay, Nicole, I'm not going to earn what I'm earning. She's like, we're going to change our lifestyle. And I went for the interview. I dropped my salary, wasn't earning half of what I was earning, and I worked in the social circus for 2 years. It was the best 2 years of my life. To sit in my office and look down and see a boy juggling 12 clubs, doing a young boy doing a sire wheel, young girls going up a scarf, and girls and boys doing acrobatics and doing bomalakikis and things like that. I was like, what more? And there was a social circus, no animals, and they have the slogan, inspire kids for life. And they really and truly inspire kids for life. Anyway, fast track 2019, I get retrenched because we weren't focusing too much on circus because we were focusing on what the funder wants. You know, when funders fund NPOs, you must give them what they want. So they said they made my job redundant. In 2019, I was retrenched. But in the time that I was retrenched, I was planning to go on a mission trip to the US. And so I was raising support to go to the US to do soccer camps, to share the gospel through soccer. And I was like, Nicole, I can't go to the US anymore. And my wife's like, okay, you can't go to the US anymore, so that money that you've raised, you need to go give back to the people. So now you need to go and find out who gave you 100 rand and go give it back. I was like, I can't do that. And then eventually I went to the States. But I went to the States with 2 months bond money in my bank account. So I had a holiday payment on my bond, a holiday payment on my car, and went to the States for 5 weeks and experienced the Holy Spirit like I've never experienced the Holy Spirit amongst young kids. And when I got back, but I was in the basement of somebody's house in St. Louis. Now, you know, the basement is a lot. In America, everybody likes the basement. Oh, it's not nice to sleep in a basement. It's cold. And I saw this job, and the job title was Sports Ministry Coach. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I applied for the job. Now, this is I don't know how profound this is, but it's a gentleman by the name of Denzel Dolly. Who knows Denzel Dolly? Yeah? Denzel Dolly is born here in PE, Galvindale, ex-South African hockey Olympian, played in the Olympics, played in the Commonwealth. Anyway, as you know, professional hockey players don't get paid to play in South Africa, so you go to Europe to go get paid to play. So anyway, he started this organization called Aslan Open Sport. I applied for this job. I told him, listen, I emailed and said, I can't do the full application. Is it okay that I apply for the job, but I can't do the full application right now because I'm not in the country? He says, listen, when you're back, let's have a conversation. So when he's here, we have a coffee, but it just happened to be that the board is down from the UK, because the board is from Sutton Vineyard Church in the UK. And so the coffee and conversation turns into an interview, and the interview turns into the board telling Denzel, listen, you can't afford this guy. And like, you can't afford him because the salary it's too little. So you need to figure out, you can tell him they want to offer him the job, and then he comes to me and I said, listen, if you can cover my overheads, then I'll come and work here. Doesn't matter. Myself and my wife will pray, we'll discern about it. And that's what we needed at that time. Anyway, I found myself working for 5 years at Aslan Open Sport. And again, it was very fulfilling, very, very fulfilling. But in the time that I was there, a friend of mine, he was offered a job to be a coach at a local football club in a community called Hannival on the Cape Flats. Now, Hannival is a community, gangsterism, drugs, it is there. That is the capital. It's the center of Cape Town. And my phone was on loudspeaker, and my wife looked at me and she was like, it's a no-brainer, Angelo, because I must be submissive to my wife. And she's like, it's a no-brainer. Take the job. It's a voluntary position. And that's how I met Bruce. So I told the club at the time, I'll come be the chaplain on one condition, that we are aligned to sports chaplains in South Africa, because I was busy doing my accreditation. Can I ask you to just add the next slide for me, please? So as you will see that there's 5 guys in that picture, right? So there's a familiar face there that you all know, and then you obviously have the lanky Bruce. So that on the left there, that guy is the Samkwa. He's a chaplain in one of our community, in our big townships called Guguletu. That guy doesn't get a cent. He's a full-on volunteer doing some crazy work in the community of Guguletu. And then on the far right, on my far left is Charlton Alexander. And we were co-chaplains, the first co-chaplains in South Africa of this local football club. And we both are immersed within community. We are passionate about the Cape Flats. And we find ourselves in places and spaces that you won't believe. We will go have a coffee with a gangster if we need to. But anyway, and that shaped, and because I was for 4 years on the Cape Flats, I wanted to be a full-time chaplain. So then I met with Bruce and we had a coffee, and he's like, listen, what do you want to talk about? I said, how do I be a full-time chaplain? He's like, he laughed at me. He's like, no chaplain in our country or anywhere gets paid to be a chaplain. Like, it's voluntary. I was like, well, I don't know, but something is telling me that I need to be a full-time chaplain. But anyway, that's when the journey started. If you can just turn the next slide, please. There's a video. Can you just quickly play the video for me? So, sorry, quickly. I know that I'm long, and I'm going to finish very soon. But can you please play the video? And when you're watching the video, you've watched this video before, but there's something that happens in this video that I want to share with you. I don't think...
So
yeah,
myself and Angelo, we're chaplains for Goal 50 here in Hannival, and we are here to support both the staff and the players as they journey through the season, and we think about that not just in a football element, but for the rest of their lives as well.
You know, when you come from difficult situations at home, they give you guidance, we clear your mind. There's one thing that I really admire that he said, once you're on the field, switch on. And whatever happens on the field, the game is done, 90 minutes is done. When you come off the field, you switch off. So that I look much up to that, so that motivates me a lot.
We have sessions with them as a squad and as a team, but we're also available to them as individuals. And so we see this as an opportunity to share the good news of Jesus with them. And even though some of the players are not Christian or don't know where they are in terms of faith, some of them might even be Muslim, and we respect that. And we see that as even still an opportunity to walk alongside them and support them in a way that sees them benefit not just on the field, but off the field as well.
We think it's very important as chaplains to be intentional, to be relational, to hang around with intent, and to really, really be authentic with the relationships that we hold.
They're the person that you can trust actually. If you have problems, for me example, I don't have a father figure, so I'm grateful for them, because sometimes, you know, you don't have, like I'm a boy, I'm a footballer, and I need that perspective how to strive in life outside football and how to deal with situations, because I'm still a youngster, so I'm learning a lot from them and they always keep me on the right path, so I'm grateful for that.
Make those shifts, we make people feel a little bit more comfortable and also a little bit more confident, so that when we get onto the field there's more trust. Angelo and I are part and accredited with Chaplaincy South Africa, which is part of a global chaplaincy movement. And here in South Africa, that was started off by a guy named Bruce Nadine, who was formerly with Leicester in the UK. And within that network, there are different sporting codes, not just football. We're talking about athletics. There's some rugby guys.
They always motivate you, even though you have a bad day. Doesn't matter if it's not football. Always home situations, everything what's going on in your life, they want to know. And they're always there for you.
Jesus calls us to love God and to love people. And so while we all love this beautiful game, it's people that form part of it. And so we come in to share that love that Jesus calls us to give to the players and to the staff here at Goal 50, which gives us a really great opportunity as they're on the field, but also to think about things in the rest of their lives as well, because they're not just soccer players, they're young men. And so we can't think of anyone better than Jesus as a person, as an example to them. And so we have the gift and the privilege of sharing that with the players.
Yeah, they play a huge role for this club, Goal 50.
So, again, that boy that's in the picture, his name is JP. He doesn't play football anymore. He's 23 years old now, yeah? If I'm not mistaken. He played for South Africa under 17. He was part of the South Africa under 17 team. He played for a club in Cape Town called Cape Town Spurs. It's an academy, a club in Cape Town, which was formerly known as Ajax Cape Town. And Bruce was the chaplain actually when they were pro. They're no longer a pro team. JP then left that club and came to play for that community club because he was promised certain things by the agents and said, listen, downscale, you're going to get an opportunity to go to Stellenbosch and then become and sign a pro contract, which never happened. That guy, I've walked a solid journey with him. Today he's a merchandiser. He works in the retail as a merchandiser. And he tried to commit suicide. His dad currently is in jail right now. And we work a solid journey together. But as you can see, professional athletes, we think what we see on TV, we don't see what happens behind the TV. Like, for example, I shared this 2 weeks ago, because I'm the official chaplain for Stellenbosch Football Club, so I'm no longer with Goal 50. I'm now the official chaplain with Stellenbosch Football Club, which is a professional club in Stellenbosch, soccer club. They traveled the other day to Equatorial Guinea to play a CAF preliminary game, and they played the second leg today in Cape Town. And they traveled for 6 days. They traveled for 6 days to play for 90 minutes. And when they traveled to Equatorial Guinea, they couldn't travel straight because the flight's expensive. But anyway, when they got to their hotel, they got a call to say, listen, you can't book into your hotel, you can't check into that hotel. You guys are all under threat. Right? Because when you go play up in North Africa, we don't see this, but they put a threat on the hotel, so the players' lives was in danger just to win a match. So then they had to book them into another hotel. And so we don't see those things. We don't see when a player, for example, I had the privilege and the honor a few weeks ago to travel with the team to Nelspruit and Mpela, and they played in the MTN final. They lost 3-0 against Orlando Pirates. But what I experienced was 4 days of professional soccer players walking a lonely journey. Like, they literally, all you do is you train, you go to your hotel. You train, you go to your hotel. One player booked their family in to come and watch the final. The hotel that we were staying in was fully booked, and they had to stay in another hotel. So he had his family there for 4 days, but he never saw his family. And so those are just the little story and the little nuggets. And what do? We just hang around with intent. I think Bruce used to say this, we're that fly on the wall. We're literally just in the background. So to close off, today I stand here as the National Coordinator for Sports Chaplaincy South Africa, and I can only stand here through the grace of God. But what I want to end off saying is that the power of prayer allows me to stand here. And my wife, unfortunately, my wife has never been on a plane. And I've been all across the world, I would say, in my little time of traveling. But it's my wife that supports the ministry that we feel God has called us to. And my daughter is starting to experience that as well. So any talk that I need to go and share my testimony with in Cape Town, my daughter wants to go with. And I need to always ask permission. And most times I get said yes. But something that I want to do, my wife posted a status, and she just basically said, Lord, go before him. That was what the status was. And so I'm going to try not to be emotional, but my wife is my rock. If God never placed her in my life, I wouldn't be standing here today. I don't think that I would have kicked the habit of using. Though I was 6 months clean when I met her, what she didn't know was, and she still doesn't know, was that day in my pocket was my next hit. So I believe that prayer is not just about praying words. I believe in my heart. My wife and my daughter's lives have matured through prayer by living it out. And then lastly, I do believe in the power of prayer. I believe that we can have peace through prayer. And I just want to say that I'm not the most educated, and my prayers is really, really simple. My favorite of all time is Our Father. Thank you.